Hey everyone, welcome to Unapologetically 50 Plus. So today I am joined by author and spiritual revolutionary Winsome Alexander, and we're going to talk about her book. This time, the revolution is spiritual. So, this conversation is about remembering who we are, reclaiming our power, and walking in true spiritual freedom. Especially for those of us 50, it's a call to step boldly into this next chapter with clarity, courage, and community. But before we get started, I have one huge favor to ask. If you find any value or enjoy the content, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I truly appreciate your support. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring on Miss Winsome and let's get this conversation started. Hey, gorgeous.
Oh, wow. Here we are. Here we are. Oh my God.
How you doing today, love?
Doing. Yes. Doing. I'm actually, if I'm to be honest, I am fighting through a headache.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're going to pretend that there's no headache, right?
There's no headache. We're not going to put that out there.
We're like, headache. You ain't going to stop me today.
Well, thank you for joining me, even with your headache. That's not really a headache. We're not going to put that out there in the universe.
Right.
So before I get started with my questions, love, I want you to tell folks who I'm sure folks know who you are. Mostly everybody knows who you are, but I want you to let folks know who you are, what you do, and then we're going to get started on this amazing book.
All right. So, hopefully, we have some new people that we have not met, right? And for you, my name is Winsome, and I am an ordained spiritual healer specializing in spiritual midwifery, right? And with that, providing urgent care for stalled dreams and disconnected souls.
Okay.
And I use the method of visualization, an ancient method our ancestors use of visualization to help heal and to draw out or birth whatever is inside you. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
All right. And then I am also a host of the Big Up Yourself show on YouTube. Please subscribe. I invite you to subscribe. Okay. And the mission of the channel, I want to let you know, is to help all of us, including those who have suffered childhood trauma, to reclaim and celebrate our original self that existed before trauma and before the world told us who to be instead of who we were created to be, right? And that leads us into our spirituality.
Okay.
So moving forward, I'm going to be doing a lot more content on spirituality, having guests that are spiritual healers and practitioners and all that kind of stuff, because the truth of the matter is most of our issues are spiritual in origin anyway. All right. So we're dealing with healing and celebrating the self, and big up yourself.
All right. So I read the excerpts. You sent me the excerpts and I read them. And just the few pages that I was able to read, this is going to be an amazing book. I've already got my pre copy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm excited to, really dive into it because I have been on my own spiritual journey probably for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I always find it just healing and just soul filling to come across other women who are in the same like-mindedness,
on the same journey. Yes,
on the same journey, definitely.
Yes.
And it's really wonderful, especially, and I always say, especially at this age, this midlife age that we're in, there's just so many, I just feel so many different downloads, than I did when I was younger, out in them streets, just living life, now it just seems like there's more of a pull for me to really get back into that
That's
spirituality
right.
and listening to my conscience, listening to that inner wisdom,
Yes.
and
Coming
just
into self.
and
Mm-hmm.
listening to my inner self and walking
Mm-hmm.
in that purpose now.
Right.
So I want to ask you the title. This time,
Okay.
the revolution is spiritual. You said it came to you like a whisper from another realm. Can you share that moment and why it felt like more than just a phrase?
Yeah. Yeah, it really did come like a whisper from outer realms to me, right? I
Mhm,
wasn't searching for it, right? I was researching for an episode on YouTube that I titled Before We Were Black. And that research led me to our ancient history,
mhm,
which I found inextricably tied to our spirituality. So, our ancient history and our spirituality are so deeply interwoven
mhm.
that you can't have one without the other. You can't pull them apart. And so I saw how our ancient intelligence was suppressed and demonized, and their religion forced upon us. And
Okay.
it hit me that they have waged war on our spirituality,
Mm,
and they were afraid of our weapons. And so, if they're afraid of them, if we began to reclaim them and use those weapons, we would defeat them. And suddenly I heard, since we've been fighting physically, even psychologically, this time we need to fight spiritually.
okay.
And the message landed heavy and urgent. An ancestor said, write the book as a rallying cry to unify all of us in this new fight for our sovereignty and our liberation.
Mm,
So it felt like a summons and an assignment, and it felt urgent. Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you said the ancestors called you to write this book because they knew you wouldn't water it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What responsibility did you then feel when you sat down to put their words and your voice on the pages?
Right. Right. So here's the thing. I've always been known to be outspoken, right? A truth teller. Even when my voice shakes, and that's literal because I literally have a voice disorder. So I do actually struggle to talk, right? But
Okay.
I'm outspoken nevertheless, right? So as I was writing, right, it just became more and more compelling. And it became like a partnership with the ancestors to tell their stories,
Mhm.
tell our stories. So it became more and more personal and began to feel like a responsibility. It was like a call to step into my role
Mhm.
in a revolution that isn't about weapons or borders, but about reclaiming our humanity. And there was a part in the book where I actually shed tears, more than one places, but in this particular moment, it hit me that here we are in 2025 fighting to be recognized as fully human.
Mhm.
And it made me very, very sad that I
Okay.
have to be fighting to be human. So anyway, so the whole thing just felt like a sudden buildup of something rising inside that had to be expelled. And I don't want to be too graphic, but if you follow my body language, it's like it just had to come up, right? And it came up like an eruption and an urgency. And it's a message that just had to come forth. and I was chosen.
Mhm.
And I said yes to that call. But it's almost like I did not have a choice. I was chosen for this.
Okay. Now, was there any fear or resistance for this call?
Um, you know what? When I first started writing, I honestly thought I was just writing a simple little, short little book, just to share some facts and stuff. Um, maybe give a name to a movement that I felt rising. But something quick and clear and accessible. But the more I wrote, the more the message began to breathe,
Okay.
right? And it developed like a heartbeat. And what started as something simple became urgent and nuanced and deep, and the ancestors made it clear.
Right.
This book had to carry the forever fight, the current fight, and
Mhm.
the future fight.
Mm.
It had to unify us, give the mission a name. This time, the revolution is spiritual. It's like that global rallying cry, so
Yeah.
that everyone would know that our ancient spiritual practices are more than relics of rebellion, but living power that we are actively engaging to dismantle oppression and rise beyond it. And this puts every one of us in the fight, Angela. That
Mm.
meant I couldn't water it down, right? My
Yeah.
responsibility was to be a faithful messenger, to write with clarity and courage and reverence, even on subjects as taboo as voodoo, which they call voodoo, and obia,
Mhm.
and to dispel the lies about them. And it meant calling out the wickedness done to places like Haiti, right?
Right. Right.
Right? While also bringing a message of hope and unity.
Yeah.
And the book gives Haiti her respect for her fight, right? Haiti paid a dear price for freedom and still
Saying
paying,
still are,
still
aren't they?
paying. Yeah. And we owe our liberties to Haiti. And I talk about that in chapter 1, right?
Mm.
So at times the responsibility felt heavy, but it was also freeing because I knew that these words weren't mine alone.
Okay.
I was co writing with spirit. My task was to keep the channel clear and speak boldly with the pen of a ready writer
Mhm.
so that the message of the revolution could not be denied.
Mm. Okay. Like I said, I can't wait to read this book. I can't wait. I'm like, hurry up, send it out. I can't wait.
It's something else.
It sounds intense, but it sounds like it's going to be so soul nourishing
Yeah,
for us.
exactly. So
Yeah.
nourishing and hopeful. Yes. Mhm.
So why was it important for you to write this book in this moment in history? And when we were, it was interesting because when we were off backstage,
Yeah.
we were talking about how having this conversation after what has transpired in the past couple days, it's like it's right on time, and your
Right
book
on
is right
time.
on time because, I mean, you think about what's going on, and I'm not gonna give any extra
Yes.
time to what's going on, we
Yeah.
all know, but how it, even though it's not our problem as Black folk,
Yeah.
they're making it our
Yes.
problem.
Yeah. They're coming for us. They're
They're
coming
com
for us for
And so
sure.
this is when we really need
To
this.
unify, we need this message.
We need this message because it is spiritual,
It
it
is.
is.
It is. And that's why. And here is another revelation that the ancestors knew the time. They knew the time was now. They made that message so urgent. It's something that I had to get out urgent, and look where we are today.
Yeah.
So I call this moment, though, the Great Awakening, right?
Mhm.
And it was important for me to write this book now because we're standing at a spiritual crossroads. Everywhere you look, there's upheaval, political, social, environmental.
Right.
But beneath it all, there's a deeper shift happening. People are waking up.
Yeah.
remembering that the real revolution isn't only in systems or structures, it's also in the soul, right?
Yeah.
So for me, this book became my way of saying we can't afford to wait. Our ancestors' wisdom, the spiritual practices that were demonized and outlawed, are not just history. They are tools that we need to heal, to resist, and to rise right now. Right now. And at this moment, the world is hungry for hope, for unity, for a vision that goes beyond survival and into sovereignty. That's what we're fighting for, right? And
Right.
that's why that book had to come now. It's a declaration that this time the revolution is not just political, it's spiritual and it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Okay? And when I say it's unstoppable, I mean that no matter what systems, no matter what it looks like, no matter what tactics of oppression are built, spirit will always find a way to rise, right?
Right.
Empires fall,
Yes.
laws change, borders shift, but the spiritual force that carried our ancestors through enslavement, colonization, and exile, that's the same force that's moving us now, right?
Mm.
So you can outlaw practices, demonize names like voodoo, call it voodoo or obia. You can burn libraries, you can erase histories, but you can't kill spirit.
Right.
It's regenerative and it remembers and it whispers until we answer. So, like I said before, this book gives us a mission, gives the mission a name, right? Something that all of us can attach or focus to. It's a global rallying cry. And I feel like this is a book that every person who considers themselves Black should own. This is a book that should be in the household of every Black person everywhere in the world, right?
Mm.
It's a mission to unify all of us everywhere. And it's also a call. This is a strong message in the book as well. It is also a call to begin to really love ourselves as Black, melanated, carbonated people, and to really love each other,
Mm.
not just as an abstract feel good idea, but truly in thought and action, like real love
Right.
with patience and respect and kindness and unity, because that's another weapon that they use against us, our inability to unite.
Oh,
If we could get the unity right paired with our spirituality, it would be game over.
unstoppable.
It would be game over,
Mhm.
unstoppable.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write this book?
A little less than a year.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it was just flowing.
Let me tell
But
you,
I've written the book and I know, and it took me a little over a year, but it sounds like spirit was just like, let's go,
what's
let's go.
downloading, what's downloading. We got to get this out. We got to get this out. I personally would have liked maybe another 2 months to like go through it with a fine tooth comb a couple more times, but
Yeah.
it's like get this thing out, get this thing out, right?
I
Yeah,
can tell you when you do that, then it's always something, oh, I got to refine that or I got to redo that.
exactly.
So, it's good that you didn't. It's good that spirit said, "Hey, this is it. Put it out.
Put it
This
out.
needs to go out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had to remember too that some of the best books I've read, I've seen errors in them. So
Mhm.
a few
Right.
errors and gone water down the message.
We gotta get over that. Oh, it has to be perfect. No, it
Right.
doesn't. I'd rather authentic than
And
perfect,
perfect.
you know.
Absolutely.
Um, the manifesto opens with a powerful reminder that our ancestors fought not just with arms, but with spirit. How does your spiritual practice keep you connected to their strength?
Oh man. So my spiritual practice is the bridge that
Mm,
keeps me connected to the strength of my ancestors, right?
Mhm.
I don't just study them as history,
Mhm.
I invite them into my daily life, right? Through visualization, prayer, rituals, lighting candles, pouring libations, or simply sitting in silence and listening, right?
Mm.
I create space to feel their presence and their guidance. In my work, working with clients, providing spiritual guidance and healing, that also strengthens my practice, and I'm always learning, attending classes, sessions, meditations with elders and mentors. I do some 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. meditation sessions with Paula Herluck, all the way in Jamaica. But we get up and we get online at 5 and 6 o'clock in the mornings and do our spiritual work.
Mm.
And there's a lot to learn, right? I'm learning some Yoruba traditions now. I'm learning sacred rituals, ritual tools and medicines like black walnut bath and mermaid water and things like that, right? I set up altar and I do daily rituals invoking spirits like Oshun, Dambala, Olokun, Ajay, you know. So I'm
Okay.
learning all of my ancestral spirits by name and learning their personalities and learning how to interact with them. And these practices remind me that I'm not walking alone,
Yeah.
that the same spirit that carried also another revolutionary like Nanny of the Maroons through unthinkable trials, that same spirit lives within me, is alive in me. And that connection keeps me rooted and unshakable. And so when I feel weak, I remember their resilience. When I feel silenced, I hear their insistence that the voice must continue. And my practice, we just talked about imperfections, is not about perfection. I'm always growing, but it's about alignment.
Yeah.
And in that alignment, I find the courage to carry the fight forward, not with weapons, but with truth, love, dedication, and with spirit.
So how do you encourage others? I mean, because you do work with others, but how do you encourage others to tap into their own ancestral strength?
Okay.
Especially since so many of us are disconnected from our lineage.
Disconnected. And that's why I love my clinic practice so much, because if you feel disconnected, this is the place to come. And when the when I first started the clinic, it was 3 hours, and but now it's a 5 hour retreat, and we
Wow.
really do some work and we tap in there. Now this book is going to give people a whole lot of information and tools that they can use to learn to really tap in. Now, one of the simplest things you can do is just sit. People have such a hard time just sitting.
Yes.
Just sit. Be still. If you do that, you're going to hear some things,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to trust what you're hearing. And then go and seek out mentors.
Yeah.
I wish that we would not, oh, why does it take us so long to come home? I wish that we would hear like messages like these and then like just like really act upon them or search them out or ask more questions. But we
But I
don't. We just dismiss them.
but in all fairness, we dismiss them, and I guess I'm speaking for myself. We dismiss them because there's so much else going on in our head and so many outside influences and
Yeah,
just so much noise going
so
on.
much noise.
And it's hard to know. And then you've been told, oh, subliminally, you've been told, oh, that's just, your imagination. It's
That's
not
right.
real.
Or
And
you're
so,
so evil. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And if you've been told this for decades, like we have it, once we hit our 50s, we've been told this for decades.
Yes.
We don't know what's true anymore.
You don't know. That's why it is so important to sit. Oh, if you sit, be still, be still, be still, and start. Hey,
And be still without this. Be still without this.
there is a lot of power in asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be still and ask some questions, right? You're
Right.
gonna get some answers. You're gonna, even if you don't hear it directly, like some of us are able to do, you're gonna be pointed in the direction where something's gonna start opening up for you, and you're gonna be led down a path, you know, and
Yeah.
you follow that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, how long have you been practicing?
Girl, and that's another thing. That's another thing. I tell people I'm late to the party. I am actually late to the party, right? Because I have been ignoring the signs all my life, right? And I would say it's maybe just over a couple of years that I started to come into myself, that I started to like wake up.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, I'm late to the party, but baby, I'm making up for lost time.
Do you think, and I know you said don't go off track, but I do have to ask you this, since you do work with, work with folks, do you find that, especially for women, that we start really having more spiritual insights as we get older, as opposed to when we're in our 20s and 30s and 40s?
I would agree with that, because I mean, with experience comes wisdom, right? And the more you live, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to be exposed to some things. So you're going to pick up some things in your 40s and 50s that you weren't exposed to in your 20s. So it stands to reason that you're going to have a deeper understanding of things as you grow older, for sure.
Okay. So the book contrasts the mindset of the oppressor and the mindset of the awakened. What does it take in your experience to shift from survival thinking to awakened consciousness?
You know, you ask some hard questions. Your questions, questions are as deep as the daggone materials. Anyway, shifting from, but you know what? That tells me that you are thoughtful. You're thoughtful. But shifting from survival thinking to awakened consciousness is a process. I hope people hear this. It's not an overnight thing. Like I said, I'm just like 2.5 years in, and I'm just learning so much, right? So it takes a while. Developing this level of awakened consciousness, it's going to take some time. It doesn't happen all at once, right? Survival thinking is shaped by trauma and oppression. Okay. It teaches us to stay small, to stay quiet, to stay safe. And I lived there for a long, long, long time.
Right.
The truly awakened, they don't rise with vengeance in their hearts. We don't rise with vengeance in our hearts, but with vision in our souls, right?
Okay.
We are not fighting to reverse roles. At least we shouldn't be, right? Or to dominate in return. We are truly remembering who we were before the wound, before the chains, and before the lies.
Okay.
The awakened are able to move from a center of spiritual clarity. They no longer measure worth by systems that were built to erase them. They're guided by ancestral wisdom, divine intuition, and a deep knowing that their power is not granted by man. It is indeed eternal, and it's encoded in our very being, right? So yeah, I started to awaken when I started to remember that that we are more than what was done to us, right? And for
Mhm.
me, that shift came through practice like visualization, prayer, ancestral connection, moments of silence where I could hear my original self again. And that's why I preach that work with the original self so much. Why it's a heavy emphasis even in my clinic, right? Learning the origins of my identity through the study of ancestral history opened me up, opened me up. And I wake up more and more every day, right? And I desire more awakening. I want to go higher. I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to really help people,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
also takes community, spaces where you don't have to perform strength,
Mm.
where you can be seen in your wholeness. That's why, building these villages is so important to me, right?
Right.
And I have friends who are awakened or are awakening, right? And we hold each other, okay? So over time, all those practices and connections rewired how I saw myself.
Mm.
Instead of measuring my worth by systems designed to erase me, I began to move from a center of clarity and from spirit. I'm being led by spirit. I allow myself to be led by spirit. And two, the awakened mindset isn't about denying pain now,
Okay.
it's about no longer being defined or confined by the pain, you know? And it's a daily return to truth, daily return to truth. And I'm not asking permission to do that.
Mm. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that says a lot. I'm
Mhm.
not asking
I'm not
permission.
asking permission.
I like that.
Mhm.
So, what do you think? What kind of daily practices help someone sustain that awakened mind?
Okay, well, we've gone over them several times before, right? One of the first things you can do is be still. Simple,
Okay.
just be still. And then, your visualization, I believe in visualization wholeheartedly. Okay. And then, as you begin to learn little rituals that you can do, simple little things, set up a little altar with a white cloth over it and,
Mhm.
light a candle, little things like that. It doesn't have to be, extravagant in the beginning, just some simple little things. A simple little thing like wearing an ancestral symbol
Okay.
to connect,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we know many European religions like Catholicism have absorbed elements of African spirituality. How do you see those African roots showing up in traditions that were once used to colonize us?
And that's such a rich question, sis. That's such a rich question. I see African roots everywhere in those traditions, sometimes hidden in plain sight. Catholicism, for example, they absorb drumming, chanting, candle work, and the honoring of saints
Mm.
that often mirrored our orishas and our deities, right? So, what was once outlawed, excuse me, or demonized
Mhm.
had to go underground, right? And our ancestors had to disguise our practices in order to survive. So, a saint now in um, Catholicism might stand in for an orisha, right? A
Okay.
rosary bead for a prayer chain, and incense for offerings that we do our ancestors do a lot, offer
Mhm.
deities libations and stuff. To me, though, that shows two things. One, the adaptability and the genius of our people. Okay. And the second, the truth that spirit cannot be erased. Okay. Even within the very structures meant to colonize us, the African essence kept breathing, shaping rituals, music, and worship. So when I see these elements today in other religions, I don't just see like Catholic tradition, I see proof
Mhm.
that our ancestors outwitted empire and carried their spirituality forward, ensuring that it would never die,
Okay.
despite them trying to bury it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and because I was raised Catholic, and
Mm,
all the little things like you said, and the frankincense and
yes.
all that was a
Came
part
from
of
us.
the Catholic
Yes.
ritual, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
very interesting how
Hmm.
they've taken those very things that our African ancestors used in their own ritual, made it theirs, but then said the African rituals are now, from the devil
Correct.
or what, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah, you're
It
right, though. You're right. I mean, a lot of practices and religions and some stem from us. They,
right,
they took it from us and put their spin on it. And then they have the nerve, some of them, to feed it back to us, watered down, distorted, you know?
right, right.
Yeah, it came from us.
In your book, you say this revolution is not about revenge, but about restoration. So, how do we honor righteous anger while still holding the vision for sacred restoration?
Oh my gosh. I know some people have, I don't have anger issues. So it's like I can hardly relate, right? But I know some of us are real angry. But righteous anger, though, is real. I believe it's necessary and it's absolutely valid
Yeah.
because it tells us that something is wrong, that boundaries have been crossed, and that injustice cannot be ignored. Okay,
Okay.
one second. But the revolution that I'm speaking about is not fueled by revenge, it's guided by restoration. But to honor that anger, we first acknowledge it fully. That's important. Acknowledge it without judgment. And then we learn from it what we need um, to learn to protect and to reclaim, right? We learn from the anger.
Okay.
Then we can channel it towards vision, towards repairing and rebuilding and reclaiming what was stolen, our spiritual sovereignty, our communities, and our sense of self. Our anger is better served as a compass rather than a weapon, I think. So that it tells you where to direct your energy, but it doesn't dictate the method. Okay.
Okay.
You see, the thing is, we should resist becoming like them
Mm.
when at all possible. We should resist stooping to their level because they really operate from a place of spiritual poverty. We are spiritual people, right?
Right.
So, sacred restoration requires us to act from a place of clarity, alignment, and purpose. And in practice, that means turning these heavy emotions into ritual, prayer, visualization, and action that uplifts rather than destroys our spirit. Okay? Because
Okay.
that anger, unbridled anger, becomes dangerous, destructive,
Yeah.
not useful spiritually. So that the fire that that burns in us, um, rather than it cleanses rather than consumes, right? And this is where our strength is. Our strength is not in the anger; it is in our spirituality. Our spirituality is really, really powerful. We have to remember that if we're coming from a place of spirit, our anger then becomes useful and it doesn't work against us. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Women over 50 are often stepping into a new chapter. And I know we just kind of talked about this,
Yeah.
whether it's through transition, reflection, or just reclaiming ourselves. How does this revolution speak directly to women in this season?
So I feel like the revolution speaks directly to women stepping into our power because it's about reclaiming what's always been ours, our voice, our wisdom, and our spiritual sovereignty. For women over 50, this is a season of reflection, of shedding conditioned roles, and importantly, choosing alignment over approval. You know how they say the
Mm.
F50s, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The spiritual revolution invites us to remember our original self, to reconnect with the practices and truths that may have been buried under obligation or expectation,
Right.
and to step boldly into our authority as co creators of our own lives, like what I teach in my clinic. Okay. It's a call to rise, not just for ourselves. Oh, and this is so important. This is another point I make in the book. Ah, we live in a society that teaches us to live for ourselves, but we have to be community conscious now. We have to think about the whole. Yes, take care of yourself first, but you can't just be living for all of us, right? None of us is entirely liberated until we're all liberated, and it's the responsibility of all of us. Anyways, so it's a call not to rise just for ourselves, but for the generations that are watching, showing that power, clarity, and sacred purpose doesn't diminish with age. Okay.
Right.
They deepen. Okay.
Right.
Our experience, women over 50, our presence, and our courage are central to this revolution. So yeah, we play an important part.
Let me ask you, when you wrote this book, was it, when you wrote this book And I know spirituality doesn't just stop with women. I understand that.
Right.
But was your focus when you were writing this, was your focus for women to read this?
That's a good question. That is, and I'm so glad you asked the question. There is actually a section in the book where I lay love on men because I've always had a soft spot for men because I feel like, oh my gosh, somebody might say, what the heck is she talking about? But I feel like men don't get enough support. There's so many programs and support and everything for women, for women, for women, for women. And I feel like I don't see enough for, especially for the young Black man.
Yeah.
So I write the book, no, not just for women, but for families. And I have a dedicated section to our young Black men in the
Okay.
book.
Okay. Okay. Good. You describe Jamaica as a frequency. And even big up yourself as a form of sovereignty. How does unapologetic joy and self celebration become a spiritual weapon?
Girl, you say the word Jamaican, I'm smiling from ear to ear. That joy is unstoppable, unmistakable. Listen, Jamaica as a frequency. That unapologetic joy and self celebration, the big up yourself culture, they're like spiritual weapons because they assert our worth in a world that has long tried to deny that worth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we celebrate ourselves fully, our history, our bodies, our creativity, we are resisting the narratives designed to make us small, silent, or ashamed.
Okay.
So that joy is not trivial, right? It's defiance rooted in spirit. In Jamaica, humor, music, dance, and resilience are all woven together as a form of spiritual sovereignty.
Mm.
Every laugh in the face of hardship, every song of pride, every act of self recognition declares, I exist, I am worthy, and I will not be diminished. So that energy is magnetic, it's unstoppable, and it's contagious. That magnetism that the whole world is drawn to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reconnects us to our ancestral power and it reminds the world that spirit cannot be colonized. So then, joy becomes a shield, a signal, and the force that moves through us, shaping culture and consciousness and collective liberation. And that joy that we carry is unmatched. Okay? If you feel, I challenge you, if you feel down, I say this all the time when I'm commenting online to people who would say, oh, I don't feel good or whatever. I said, just put on some Jamaican content. Turn on Instagram and watch some Jamaican content. That is instant cure for the blues. They are out of control. Out of control with the humor and the laughter, even when they are hungry.
Mm.
Right? We often say, why are we like this? And you know how they say in Jamaica, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is we have problems. We have big problems down there. But there's also a saying that we don't take anything serious, right? Trust me, whatever the catastrophe, somebody is going to make a skit or a dance or a song out of it, and we're going to be extra with it, and the whole nation is going to be in one big celebration, right? Let me tell you something. Jamaica is not a real place. Jamaica, Jamaica is not, Jamaica is mythical. That's all I can tell you right now.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So, all over the world, people are returning to ancestral practices. We're doing tarot, we're doing drumming, herbalism. Why do you think this resurgence is happening right now?
Yeah, it's the time, man. It's the time.
Yeah.
This resurgence, this resurgence is happening now because the world is craving what modern systems cannot provide, right? That is connection, meaning, and agency. We're craving these things. You would think that we'd be more connected because we have social media and stuff, but we're becoming more and more isolated despite all that. And the thing is, people have lived long enough in survival mode, disconnected from self, from spirit, and from community, and are remembering the tools that our ancestors hold, um, remembering that the tools of our ancestors hold power, right?
Mhm.
Beyond what any institution can offer. So, practices like tarot, drumming, herbalism, and ancestor veneration are not just rituals, they are acts of reclamation. We're taking back our stuff.
Okay.
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 This reminds me of a song. Oh my God, I keep talking about this song. There's so many points in this song. One of the lines in the song is that, and we want back everything that you visited and took. We're taking back our stuff, right? So, yeah, liberation has been in the air for a while, but many have not recognized it. But today, we have the means to rally people around the world.
Yeah.
Social media connects, quote unquote, connects us, amplifies the message, and positions us to dismantle oppressive systems, right? And this is the appointed time to rise, to reclaim, and to get ready to thrive afterward. That is after the inevitable complete decline, right?
Mm.
So that the cycles of history will never be repeated. So, this moment is a collective awakening. Black humanity is remembering that our power isn't granted, it's inherited, encoded. It's encoded in our very being.
Yeah.
So returning to these ancestral practices isn't just a fad now, okay? It's a revival of spiritual systems that have always sustained us. And it's a declaration that we are now um, reclaiming our birthright.
Okay. You wrote about spiritual Pan Africanism, the idea that liberation is as much spiritual as political. So, how does this broaden or deepen the vision of Pan African unity?
All right, so pan spiritual pan-Africanism broadens and deepens the vision of Pan-African unity because it reminds us that true liberation isn't just political or cultural, it's spiritual. Okay.
Okay.
For centuries, our communities have fought for freedom, for justice, and recognition. But colonialism didn't just take wealth and land, it severed us from our spiritual roots. That's what we're fighting for. By reclaiming African spiritual systems like Ifa, Vodun, which they call voodoo, Kemetic traditions, ancestor venerations. We are reconnecting with our power, our wisdom, and the sovereignty encoded in our very being. So, this isn't just about rituals and practices, it's about remembering who we are at the core, right?
Right.
And uniting across continents that shared spiritual DNA, right? Like you consider movements like Black Lives Matter and SARS, right? That's solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
But spiritual Pan-Africanism ensures that unity is anchored in ancestral truth and collective healing. So it transforms Pan-Africanism from the familiar political or cultural alliance into a more holistic force for liberation.
Okay.
One that heals generational trauma, restores our sacred identity, and positions our communities to thrive spiritually, mentally, and materially,
Mm.
right? So
Okay.
when we integrate spirituality into Pan Africanism, we are no longer just resisting oppression. We are actively reclaiming our birthright. And so we are weaving together the political, the cultural, and sacred dimensions of liberation into a single unstoppable movement.
Okay. Okay. On a personal level, how has writing this book changed you?
Girl, let me tell you.
And when are
This
you writing your next one? No.
I'm actually in the process of writing the follow-up, which is birthing a revolutionary, and that's going to
Okay.
be a free ebook attached to the book.
Oh,
So
okay.
on a personal level, oh my gosh, so many changes. Um, I have experienced quantum growth through the process of writing this book.
Okay.
First of all, first of all, it has established me as a recognized author. And that's been a lifelong dream, right? So that has come to pass with this book. It gave me context for my deep spirituality, which I couldn't quite understand because I didn't quite fit into spirituality the way that we were taught. You know, there was just always something not connecting.
Right.
But when I began to learn about ancestral spirituality, I'm like, now this is spirituality that resonates, that I can practice and that I can share, that I want to share.
Okay.
The book, writing the book, has given me a new sense of self and rootedness and a new pride. Oh, the pride in my origin as a Negro woman. Oh my God. Ooh, oh, the pride. And it gives me a way to do my little part in this war for our liberation. And it also gives me immense hope. Actually, it gives me conviction that we come out of this victorious. Okay. Plus, let me say this. Let me just say this too. It's one thing to be behind closed doors, getting downloads, listening to the ancestors, just writing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a whole different story when you have to get out in public and talk about this stuff. So this book is giving me my voice. Actually, it's amplifying my voice, right? And it's
Right.
amazing. And the big one, it has solidified me as a revolutionary.
Okay, Miss Revolutionary. Okay.
It's not like this is the first time that I've stepped out as a revolutionary, but now the title is official.
The title is official. Now, I want to ask you this, and I've heard you say this on another podcast. You said you'd rather be called Negro than Black. Why is that?
That's a good question. And I'm still having trouble explaining it. People don't understand what the heck I'm talking about, but it's like a vibrational thing.
Uh,
It's like it resonates better to me. It's like when I see a Negro person, as opposed to I see a Black person struggling, like in a struggle, in a fight, in a with a label that they just kind of put on, and it
mm,
feels oppressive, right? But when I see Negro in my head, I see a strong, resolute figure, walking with pride and strutting down with confidence and unbreakable, unstoppable. Oh my God.
okay.
The energy that comes from Negro, I just don't get it with Black. I don't know what else to say.
Eh, if that is your outlook, then hey, who are we to say it's wrong? I
Right?
just was because I've heard you say it before, and I was like, I want to ask her about that, because I get what you're saying, but I guess in my head,
Yeah.
it's just a little different. And it's funny because on my birth certificate, it says Negro on my birth certificate.
It
And my daughter,
does.
yes, because I have my original birth certificate. Now I don't think it even says anything. It doesn't give a racial identity, I think, on the newer birth certificates. And my daughter saw one time, she's like, oh my God, Mom, how old is that? I said, clearly old enough for it to say Negro on it.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, I just wanted to get clarification on that. That's very interesting. So,
Yeah.
is there anything else, excuse me, you want to before we close that you'd like to say? I will have all her information in the description below. Please, get her book and check out all her different. I mean, she has a wealth of knowledge and information. So please, everything will be in the description below. But is there anything else you want to say and before we head on out of here?
All I want to say is I just want to invite people to go ahead and order the book, right? If you pre-order the book now, between now and all of next week, you do get an invite to the outdooring, which is the launch. But I'm calling it an outdooring, making it an outdooring ceremony because this is a Ghanaian tradition for introducing a new birth into the world. And for me, this book is like birthing out this project into the world. So it's an outdooring. You get an invitation with that when you pre-order. You also get a preview of the behind the scenes of writing the book, and that is a
Oh,
free ebook, and it's titled Birthing a Revolutionary. So
okay.
that's one. Get the book. Number two, I would invite you to sign up for the clinic, right? The clinic is urgent care. It's the We Are Creators Visualization Clinic. And as a spiritual midwife, it is urgent care for stalled dreams and disconnected souls. Okay. You come to the clinic to get reconnected and reclaim your original self, that self that existed before trauma. And it's where you become initiated as co-creator of the outcomes that you want for yourself, right? And you want to think of the clinic as a 5-hour virtual retreat, a mini retreat. A lot of us would like to attend 5-day retreats in some exotic place, but we're not able to for one reason or the other. Here you can experience the retreat experience over 5 hours, right? And it's affordable, and it's literally where you can come and meet yourself, literally meet up with yourself as well as meet yourself for the first time, right? It provides a portal to your next spiritual dimension. It involves some rituals and visualization exercises. And remember, I am an ordained spiritual healer, so we do some healing practices using things like healing light, visualization, and some somatic methods, and lots of surprises. I shouldn't call them surprises, but revelations. Um, and I don't like to advertise too much of what happens in the clinic because I want you to come and experience them, right? And I keep the group small, so register soon, right? And also think of this clinic not as a luxury, but as a lifeline. And people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to attend events like this. Well, we have it in our community for very low cost, and I know it's low, but it won't stay that way for long. So sign up. There's one-on-ones available too. There's a free visualization class. That's not a clinic, but I know Angela has a link for that. Do some basic visualization techniques. I would invite you to sign up for the village revolution, right? Go to, we're rebuilding the village like our ancestors used to practice in. We're supporting each other spiritually and practically, holding space for each other and each other's dreams, healing and liberating, right? And sign up for that and get on my email list so that you can be notified of whatever events I'm coming up with. And finally, I am working on a liberation circle, and this is one for those who are serious about joining spiritual forces to dismantle oppressive systems, right? We'll be purposely directing spiritual energy to chant down and tear down what they think they are doing to continue to subjugate us. Okay? And I'm done for the evening.
Well, this has been amazing conversation. Thank you so much. You have definitely opened up my eyes. And again, I can't wait to read the book. So hurry up and bring it out. So
next week.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Please, her information will be in the description below. Make sure you check out her book, her different links, and see what she offers. Winsome offers some amazing spirituality, and just because I've taken one of her courses, so it is very eye-opening. It's very helpful, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So please make sure you check her out and like, share, subscribe. Check out her YouTube channel, definitely. And I will see you guys again next week. Bye.
Thank you, Angela. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you,